Oh, you're doing the same thing I am. Ouch. Where's your hat?
My name is Mary.
Evaporated, but this is where Nancy was sitting right here. Yes, it was. And this is Queen. And this gorgeous looking Dave and Laura. Hey, Laura. And we're delighted to have you.
And I'm delighted to be here.
And y'all look so pretty together.
He went on.
You won't stay on. We'll get another one. There's some more over there. Let me squeeze around here, Claudine. I've got to get John in here.
Was I truly invited to this?
You were truly invited. You kidding me?
Mother.
Roadster. It's a convertible, had a red body, white trim, and a white top, and a rumble seat. And Seymour was in high school at the time. And he came to me and told me that he really needed transportation to get to school and to get to work and to do things that he needed to do. And so I would let him use the 8 model Roadster. I later learned that there were a lot of girls on Jekyll and St. Simon's that knew that Roadster. And I had our first child at that time, Claudia, who was born here on St. Simon's. And Claudia was a small child, and one night I had to go to the store quite late to get some milk for the baby. So I went in the A-model Roadster that Seymour had let me use for a few days. And I pulled up to the stoplight at Norwich and Gloucester Streets. And another car pulled up beside me, and this pretty little girl jumped out of that car and jumped into the A-model. And she said, "Where are we going?" And I said, "I don't know about you, young lady, but I'm going to the store to get some milk for my baby." And she looked at me and she says, "What are you doing in Seymour's car?" I said, "He let me borrow it." The cake has arrived, and I think the appropriate thing to do is to sing Happy Birthday. You want to lead us in that?
I'll start it off. This crowd can control itself for a minute. I thought that maybe the dad's going to have to come up
and say a few words at this time. And after that, I've got a little list here of some people who have requested an opportunity to speak in behalf of the defendants.
Be safe.
I'm so thrilled that you all could be here. And as Jack was saying, his memories of King of Prince. Most of you know I'm originally from Chicago. And as I had to tell my mother-in-law so many times, I'm a Midwesterner now, not a damn Yankee. But my folks moved to Atlanta from Chicago back in the 50s. And I thought I had died and gone to heaven. Atlanta was so wonderful. And then Seymour and I got married 33 years ago. And he brought me here to the King and Prince. And we danced our first dance. They had an outdoor patio under the stars back then. And we danced our first after-marriage dance out there. And I had felt like I had died and gone to heaven in Atlanta, but then I arrived in paradise there. So I just love everything about it, but especially the people. And just thank you for being here.
I've done a lot of things in my life, but my success in my life is my wife.
And son.
And son.
A side note to Jeanette coming to Atlanta, and she may not even know this, and maybe I've mentioned it before, that there was a little restaurant on Peachtree Street called Beretta's, right? And I used to eat lunch there, and that was her family's restaurant. And that was long before I even knew that she knew Seymour Lenz. That's been just a few years ago. We've got some folks here that we wanted to hear from. And Claire, where's Claire?
Here I am.
Claire, come up, would you please? Now, is you come on up, and is there anyone else? Now, your sister's not here. That's the mock girls who are here. Where's Joan?
Back here.
Okay, well, you're supposed to be up here at the same time.
I didn't know that.
Try to read my schedule. Come on.
Are you sure? I didn't know anything about this.
I don't know if this is a particular Seymour story, it's more of a Lynn story. Because we lived in Statesboro, and they lived in Brunswick, although that's not where y'all lived first. Waycross. But they used to come up now to visit us, and they would come up in a hearse. And behind Mother and Dad, there was this glass wall that went up. And they could sit back there and kill each other. They didn't bother Mother and Dad because they couldn't hear it anyway, because it was pretty thick, kind of a wall in between them. And they would get there, and of course, Mickey and Aunt Mary, they would get out of the car and they would come in, and we all would just be overjoyed. There were 9 of us, there were 7 of them, right? 8.
Oh, yeah.
Eight have mom and dad.
Okay.
You had them outnumbered.
There were at least 11 of us all the time. Back when they were young, my 3 younger brothers had not been born. But anyway, the Lenzes, the young ones, wouldn't get out of the car because they didn't want us kissing them.
We learned that we were a bunch of damn fools.
I heard the story about when he was an adolescent. He changed. Now, I brought something I wanted to read. One of my friends in Statesboro shared this with me about a month ago, and I just think it's beautiful, and it reminds me of Seymour. But anyway, it's for all of us. This is written by Nelson Mandela, President of the Republic of South Africa, in his 1994 inaugural speech. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are we not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small doesn't serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We were born to manifest the glory of God within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. That reminds me of you.
Stole it from me on stage.
I would love to have it.
Pass it on.
I think I was just giving moral support. She stole my damn story.
Philip, Roselle, would you come on up at this time? Philip's here with Pam, Laura, and Jim and Mike.
Well, you don't have to eat it.
We were trying to get some of the young ones to say the blessing earlier, and they all said, go get Dad. She loves to do it, but she'll take a long time. It was good advice that you gave.
Okay, well, Seymour sent me this email and said I was going to get to talk here. And it was kind of interesting because I know Seymour knows I have a special love for him. I'm trying to think where that came from. Anyhow, we go back a long ways. I went to junior college in South Florida, and while I was in South Florida, Seymour and Jeanette, their family, took me in to make me feel like I was home, and got to go on several boating trips, and I guess the best thing was just being able to go over there some nights and have a supper and spend the night. That was really good. Now, the latest thing, I guess, seems like, I don't know. Do I hold the record for having made more fudge than any of your other recipes? Well, I've gone through several
A lot of people
hundred.
don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, okay.
here's something that will help you with this talk.
Well, Seymour and I share a special love, and it's really been a great pleasure of mine to at times share this with other people and what we've done, and in fact, I'm trying to think of where I was going with this, but so Seymour has shared much with me, especially in the fudge arena, and although I really haven't been able to pursue all the recipes that Seymour has tried to give me, because some of them, and the most interesting ones have been well, just put 10 pounds in a pot, blend it up, and then you make a little bit of Rocky Road, a little bit of peanut butter, and a little. I've never tried that, so I'm gonna wait to do that with you, but, you know, earlier today, I heard Seymour say that, how about that? This is my road manager. But that he feels better than any time in his life, and I think a lot of us, I think I have to blame it on the Sylvester side of the family. I don't know that Daddy gets these strange hypoglycemic, whenever you're kind of empty, you feel like you're dying, and so, you know, eating things has always been something that we've discovered is really important to eat the right things that we discovered early, but this is something that Seymour pursued for us. I got a letter probably 12 or 15 years ago that Seymour heard that I was just feeling bad. He wrote me this 2-3 page letter on food blending, and that was long before Harvey and Marilyn Diamond. I don't know if you, I mean, this is good stuff. But anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and end, but got a special love for you, Seymour. Glad you had me come, and I hope I've been a little bit entertaining.
Seymour wants equal time. Philip and I do go back a long way. I was doing a fundraiser at St. Bernard's High School where I had gone on to become a priest. That's long history. But I told Philip, I said, I'm going up to do a fundraiser for St. Bernard's. He said, can I come and help cook fudge? So he flew his plane, he and his wife Pam, flew all the way up to Coleman, Alabama. And we had a booth set up there, and we were cooking fudge, and we had crowds of people around us, and a tornado blew in. Literally a tornado dropped down and sucked the tent right up from around us, and the rain was coming down, and I was holding a pot of fudge about ready to pour it, and we went running for cover. Everything was fine, and we ran into shelter in the main building. And I said, what am I going to do with this fudge? So Jeanette said, well, I've got the pan, so I poured the fudge, and it hardened in 2 minutes. And I said, you can even cook this fudge in a tornado.
We had Taffy that's was going to say a word or two. So before that, is there anyone else here who would like to share a Seymour story before to the piece de resistance of our afternoon?
Jack, get Seymour to tell the story about being picked up on the highway when he was at
Now,
home.
we're going to give Seymour his hour. Any of you who have this, I have one more Seymour story, and we wanted at this time then to ask Taffy to come and Sam, you brought him.
He said his name was Seymour Lenz, and it means
Okay, after we hear from Taffy. Okay.
one day he told me he was Seymour Lenz.
I said, let that thing. He's incinerated that I can't just say a word or two. And besides, I was going to say something nice this time. And it's going to be brief. And you can believe that or not. Okay? I was going to say, welcome to the golden age, the golden 60s. Now you are in the golden age, a legitimate member of the golden age years group. And with great difficulty and much deep thought, I finally came up with the definitive definition of what the golden years consist of. And this is it. The golden years are that wonderful period in life when everything hurts and what doesn't hurt doesn't work. So Seymour, may they all be glorious for you. Oh, and I've got one other definition in my brief speech. And I found out what makes a successful marriage. To make a marriage very successful, you have to have some special ingredients. You really have to be sort of people who don't actually compliment each other. But to make it work, you have to be, it takes really, you know, you used to say everybody just has to be real congenial and everything to make marriage work. It takes incompatibility. It really does. Incompatibility. He has to have income and you have to have compatibility. Those are my words of wisdom. Happy birthday, Seymour.
Where the hell came up with
We just say happy birthday and thank you for bringing us all together. We love you. We're real proud of you.
I'm going to say, here's the young man who's had to put up with Seymour since birth.
Well, Dad, happy birthday. Thank you. And I feel very lucky to be your son, first of all. I've gotten to go through all of the years where Dad is more like a big kid. I don't know if y'all have realized this yet, but growing up, it was more like having another big kid in the family. He was always there. And the other thing that I'd like to say is that, you know, in growing up, it's very rare that you find somebody with such enthusiasm for life, and Dad certainly has that. And he not only serves as a good role model for me growing up, but continuously throughout my life. So I just want to say I love you and happy birthday.
Before we have Seymour come up, I promised you one more early Seymour story. You know, he went to Georgia Tech in Atlanta, and we lived in Atlanta at the time. We lived in a house that was on a hill, and the garage was under the house. And that's where I parked the car every night. And I came in one night, and something looked different. And in the garage, there was an anchor off of a fairly large ship. Big anchor. And I don't remember seeing that before, you know. I don't know where it came from. And it was there for a while, and every time I'd look at it, I'd say, I wonder where the anchor came from. Well, Seymour stopped by one afternoon looking a little nervous. And he said, I've got a problem. He said, for an initiation into fraternity or whatever it was. He said, I had to steal the anchor from the United States Naval Reserve on the campus at Georgia Tech. And lately they've been asking about it. And he said, you got any ideas about how we could return that anchor quietly?
How big it was.
Listen, that anchor was at least 6 feet by this side. I mean, it was a ship's anchor. This was not something you'd have on your 16-foot fishing. Well, I told him not to worry about it, but I was sure there was enough ingenuity in the Lenz family to handle this. I had a friend who lived down the street, Dick. He's an architect at the time, a young man. We called him Nervous Dick, and especially after this event. I convinced Dick to come up by the house, have a drink with me, and told him I needed some help. So we waited till after dark, and we took that anchor and put it in my station wagon. And we crept down to the Tech campus. We had a blanket over the anchor. And I got up the hill from the Navy base headquarters there, turned out the lights, and I crawled over the seat into the back, and opened the tailgate, and I told Dick, I said, just ease down the hill and stop when you get to the Navy entrance to the Navy building. And when I holler, go, go. We rolled down there with the lights off, and he stopped that car, and I whipped that blanket off of it, kicked that anchor out in the street, and we took off like booties. We made 2 or 3 left and right turns and pulled into an alley and turned out the lights and waited to be arrested by the federal police. That was our contribution to Seymour's education.
Thank you, Jack. You really saved my behind.
You know, a couple of things. Seymour's a good Catholic boy. He shared with me some of the things he's learned from the church. And in fact, before this meeting today, he shared with me. So the first collection this afternoon will be for the Seymour Improvement Project. And the second collection will be for the Seymour Retirement. Don't get the poor Seymour box by the door. Seymour, come and share with us.
Your plan? Family is what this is all about. And as long as I can remember, I've had people to look up to in our family, and friends. And Jeanette asked me, she said, what would you like to do for your birthday? You know, we were thinking of going to the Bahamas or going to the mountains. I said, I want to get family together. And that's why we were delighted when each one of you accepted the invitation to be here today, because you all have meant so much to me in my life. And I just hope that we can do this every year. And I've never met a family that has enjoyed going to a reunion so much. Everybody has always looked forward to getting together. And we need to do more of that, because life is short. One of the reasons that we're here today is because of my friend Tom. Susan's brother passed away 2 weeks ago. And he was one of my dear best friends. And I told Jeanette, I said, I can't let this happen without us getting together. Some birthday celebration. This is. I have so many wonderful memories of Tommy. And I can remember when we were just Cub Scouts. And I went down to y'all's house, and Tommy and I took a can of Vienna sausages and a can of pork and beans and a backpack, and we just went out into the woods and sat down, opened up a little blanket, and just ate pork and beans and bread. And to this day, every time I eat pork and beans, I say, and I can still remember that wonderful time. But we had so many special joys from your family, and we were delighted to have you all here with us today. You know, this party will take the place of my eulogy when I am gone. Because when I'm gone, I don't care if you come or not. And Ann told me, she said, would you please take good notes, because I might need this when I'm gone. But Ann is 89, is that correct, Ann? And she's come all the way from Statesboro. 89 plus. Well, we came up to the mountains, and I called Ann and asked her if we could stay at her place, and she told me the keys opened the door. And she told me how to get to this road out in the middle of nowhere. And she said, you'll come up to this road and you'll see a stick by the side of the road. She says, turn left at the stick. And we got up there at midnight, and I could hear the water rushing, and we came down this road, going about 2 miles, and it's nothing but woods. And I hear the water rushing, and I couldn't see anything past the stick. And I said, Jeanette, we turn left at the stick. And she said, for God's sake, don't drive into the river. And I said, if Aunt Ann says turn left at the stick, we're going to turn left at the stick. And I drove left at the stick and dropped about 6 feet down, and there was a little road that went back to her cabin. But you have to have faith. Family means a lot. I learned years ago how precious my family meant to me. We went to North Carolina for vacation. We rented a little boat at one of the lakes up in the mountains, took a little ice chest and picnic lunch, and we went up this river 2 or 3 miles, and there were mountains just on either side. And we came to this big rock. It was at an incline. There was no level rock, so we said, let's have the picnic right here. So we tied up the little boat, we got the blanket out, and we unpacked the lunch. And I told Sim, I said, Sim, let's go hiking up the mountain and see what's up there. And I noticed there was a little ravine with water running down this little stream. So we started hiking up the mountain, and Laura said no, she wanted to lay on the blanket and get the suntan, so she lays out on the blanket. There wasn't enough room for two, so Jeanette takes a towel, puts it over the seat of the boat, lays down on the boat seat. Sim and I hiked about, it seemed like a half a mile up this mountain. And as we went, there were little boulders, and we would roll them down into the stream. As we got almost to the top of the mountain, I looked up at the side, and there was a boulder about this big around. It must have been 2 tons. Sam will probably say it was only a ton, but it was 2 tons. And I said, I noticed that it was trying to roll down into this V-shaped gully, and I said, Sam, help me push this boulder, and let's roll it down into the gully. It'd be fun to watch. So
The story used to be that I rolled the boulder down, but it's developed that we now. This is good.
He's entitled.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we pushed this boulder, and it started crunch. It crunched a whole dead log that was stopping it, and it took and started rolling and gaining momentum. And it was fantastic to watch the power of this rock as it began to roll and pick up speed and then bounce. And it hit the bottom of this little ravine, and I expected it to stay there, and it didn't even slow it down. It bounced right up and went up the side of the mountain. It was like watching a car roll uphill. I was amazed to see that this big boulder wouldn't stop. And it got right up to the top of the mountain and turned and looked down the side of the mountain and started straight down for Jeanette and Laura. And I said, my God, what have I done? There's no way I can stop this rock. If I run and jump in front of it, I'm a dead man. And it would hit a little tree, and I would say, oh, it stopped. And I would hear this tree shatter, and this boulder would pick up more speed. It hit another tree and stop. And then the tree would crunch, and there goes the boulder. So I said, my God, I have to warn them. So I stopped and I said, Laura, Jeanette, get behind the tree. And I hear, Laura, Jeanette, get behind the tree. And the head goes, Laura, Laura, Laura. And I said, oh my God, they'll never understand me. So I stopped and I said, I've got to do it one time, and I have to do it right. Jeanette, Laura, get behind the tree. And I hear, I said, oh no. And then all of a sudden I hear, ah! I started running down the side of this mountain. And there were vines, and the vines were ripping me, and my shirt was torn, and I was bleeding from the chest.
Picture Tarzan.
I finally made it to the bottom of the mountain, and there's Laura standing on the blanket, and I looked at Jeanette, and she has moved to the front end of the boat, and she's standing on the front end of the boat. And I said, thank God you're alive. What happened? And Laura says, we heard you yelling, and Jeanette stood up from her seat and said, what is Dad trying to tell us? And Laura says, I don't know. And about that time, they looked up, and this bowl bounded down the mountain, out of the woods, bounced on the rock next to where Laura was, bounced out into the boat, shattered the seat that Jeanette had been laying on, and flipped out into the water. I looked at the seat, and it looked like 10 million toothpicks. There was, the sides of the boat were ripped in where this had hit. The gasoline can was crunched, and the handle to the boat was bent over. So I told him, I said, well, let's go turn the boat in. I said, but when we get there, I want y'all to get out of the boat and go straight for the car. So when we docked the little boat up, and I had to sit on my haunches because there was no seat to sit on when we were riding in. So I went up to the boatmaster, the harbor master, and I said, I'd like to turn in this boat. And I said, but we had a little problem. And he said, oh, what was that? And he looked at the boat and he says, my God, what happened? So they went running out to the boat, and I said, well, this boulder came tumbling out of the mountains and hit the boat. And he said, thank God nobody was killed. And I said, thank God. And I said, do you have insurance on the boat? And he says, no, I don't have insurance. I said, well, I'll pay you for whatever damages there are. And I said, how much do I owe you? I'll write you a check. He looked at the boat. He said, well, it's going to take me at least $5 to fix the sides of the boat. And I have to put a new seat in. That's another $10. He said, $15 will do it. And I was picturing $1,500. I said, look, it's $25. I was glad I was in North Carolina. If I had done that in Miami, it would have been $30,000. But to this day, we have the blanket with the big tears in it from the bowler. And to this day, I was thinking, I'll never, hopefully, ever do something that dumb again. Because if I had lost my family, I could never have explained it or lived with it. One last story I'd like to share with you is very meaningful to me in my life, and hopefully you might say the same in yours. We have a condominium at New Smyrna Beach, and every weekend, just about, we would see an old Georgia Tech alumni by the name of Mac McCoy. We met Mac when we first moved to Orlando 33 years ago. Mac was an alumni of Georgia Tech. We went to the alumni meetings. And Mac had retired to New Smyrna Beach, and he had had open heart surgery. So we knew that, he shouldn't be out on the beach alone because of his health situation. But every time I would see Mac on the beach, he was always saying, Brother Lenz, how's the fudge business? And we'd talk about the magic fudge. Well, 3 years ago, shortly after Mac's surgery, we had renters coming in on January 1st. So Jeanette and I said, well, we'll go over to the condo and clear our personal things out so that the maids can come in and get it cleaned up. So we were over there, and we were doing some cleaning and packing, and I told Jeanette, I said, look, it's 2:30. I'm tired of all this work. Let's take a walk down the beach. So we started down the beach, and at the end of December, it was a little bit chilly, and there was nobody on the beach but us. So we walked down to Bethune. Clint, you remember Bethune?
Yes, I do.
We used to make all the kids walk to Bethune. And we turned around to walk back, and we had gotten about a quarter of a mile back, still nobody on the beach. And I looked up, and about 30 feet away was Mac McCoy. And I said, Mac, how you doing? He says, Brother Lenz, so happy to see you. How's the fudge business? And I said, Mac, it's great. I said, but how are you? And as he walked closer, he's wearing a bathing suit and a loose top and unbuttoned at the front. And I patted him on the chest and I said, how's that new heart pacer doing? And he said, it's doing really great. And I asked him about the Christmas holidays. And he told me he had been with his daughter's family in Kentucky, which I didn't even know he had a daughter. But we shared for about 15 minutes on the beach, and I told him, I said, well, we've got to get back and get our things out so the page can get any clean. So we told him goodbye, and we started walking down the beach, and we took about 15 steps, and I said, Jeanette, it's strange that Mac is down here without his wife after having a new implant. I said, why don't we ask him to walk back with us? So I turned around and said, hey, Mac. And I looked, and there was no one on the beach. And there was nothing but palmettos on the side, and I said, there's no way to get up these sand dunes. Where did he go? So we walked around, looked in the palmettos, no sign of Mac. So I said, well, maybe he climbed up through the palmettos and went up to the road to visit somebody. So we walked on back to the condominium, and about 30 minutes later, I hear the ambulance going by. And I said, I'll bet Mac died on the beach. And I bet we were the last people to see him alive. But we left, packed up, went home. We tried to call the hospital. They didn't know anything about Mac McCoy, so we just headed on back to Orlando or Orlando. That was on a Friday. Monday morning, I opened the paper and I said, I think I'll look at the obituaries and see if Mac died. I opened up the obituaries and it said Mac McCoy died at the age of 65. So we planned to go to his funeral the following Wednesday. And at the funeral, there were over 1,000 people there, and we didn't have a chance to say anything but to express our condolences to his wife, Jackie. About 6 weeks later, we were walking down the beach, and we see Jackie walking towards us, Jackie McCoy. And I told her, I said, Jackie, it's so good to see you. I have wanted to talk to you ever since your husband's funeral, and we offered our condolences again. And I just wanted to confirm, I said, I think that we were the last people to see Mac alive. And she said, oh. And I said, yeah. I said, what time did he die? And she said, 3 o'clock. Well, I knew it was 3, but I just wanted her to confirm it. And I said, and where did he die? Well, I knew it was on the beach, but I wasn't sure if it was the palmettos or on the road. She said he died in a hotel room. I said, a hotel room? I said, I was in my mind thinking, how could he get downtown to a hotel? I said, what hotel was it? She said, it was the Hampton Inn in Ellijay, Georgia. I said, Ellijay, Georgia? She said, yes. We were returning from a visit with my daughter. We left on December the 1st. We were coming back at the end of December. And we spent a wonderful holiday with that daughter. And I said, well, I want you to know that we saw Mac on the beach at 3 o'clock. And this must have been his very favorite place. And she said, it really was. She said, how do you explain that? And I said, well, I have always learned as a Catholic that once you die, that you can wish yourself anywhere that you want to be and be there. And maybe before he went to face the final judgment, he decided to come back for one final walk on the beach. But as we were thinking about that later, I told Jeanette, I said, can you imagine Mac McCoy going before the face of God, having the final judgment, and then looking God right in the eyes and saying, gee, God, have you ever tasted that Lenz Magic Fudge? This was not a joke. It really happened. But I was thinking, you know, somebody in heaven now knows of my magic fudge. Thanks, y'all, for coming. I love you all, and I hope we can do this again. God bless you. I'm proud to have you as brothers. You're both proud. Well, I'm telling you now, and I'm wishing you the best, especially today. Love, Katie and Pinky. Katie and Pinky. My vocals aren't working. We're getting this celebration together. I know Mom and Dad will be there with us, and they're also proud of you. But I know they're here too. Thank you, Kate. Okay, Johnny, that wasn't your card. We'll try to find it next time. For a great guy and a great brother, happy birthday, sis Paul and John. Happy big 6-0. Wishing you a year of blessings, peace, and love. Thanks, sis. Thanks, Johnny. And I have to open Johnny's book here because Johnny said this is a special gift from him. The last time I went to visit Sissy, knocked on the door and Johnny opens the door and I said, "Hey, Johnny, you remember me?" And he says, "Mom, the king's here." Didn't know quite Mother Teresa in the heart of the world. Thank you, John. All right. We have two that look alike. Are these both from you, Vic?
No, one of them is from Jones.
One from John? All right.
We went to the store and we looked at every card in the store and we couldn't find anything with the depth and the, that could convey adequately how we feel about you reaching your 60.
All right. Well, let's see. Sit yourself. Thank you all for not bringing gifts.
That was from Vic.
Oh, that was from Vic? Oh, thank you, Vic. I wasn't sure Jones had a student to pick out.
Just wait.
Okay. Right away, I'm going to bequeath this to Aunt Tabby. These are the pins. Cards for men.
I take back every nice thing I said. Despite it, if something were wrong, Dad heard, and I want to take that sister. She makes a wonderful paper
Just make sure it depends on me.
That's another card from Clara and Wayne. Thinking of you and wanting you to know how much happiness you wish on this day and always happy birthday. Thank you. Thank you, Clara. Oh, this was with the card. That's not good while I'm cooking fudge.
They were for your beach house.
Isn't that nice? Now, who is
That's it. Don't keep digging.
Oh, this is from you too?
It's for both are for the beach house.
That's really nice. Thank you. Is that it? Okay.
I have a blessing
It's a
I want to pronounce over.
Okay, pronounce a blessing.
There's a scripture that talks about this. In this particular scripture, the writer said that his eye was not dimmed, nor was his vigor diminished. And I pray that for you.